Fight!
What's up, YouTube and my social media family? How you guys doing? Hey, this is your host, Taz B, here at the Fighters Corner, where what chat? Where all fighters have a voice. Hey, I'm excited to announce today, this will be our first episode of the season of the Legends. Yes, just like I promised you guys, all you boxing and combative sports enthusiasts out there, this is just something special and dear to me. I know everyone has their top tier fighters. They have all of these things, but I want to talk about one special fighter. Special because, this fighter was during the time where, they wasn't into colored boxers. It was looked down upon. It was even looked down upon if they had someone on their side, like a girlfriend or something, other than them being colored, and to me, he was one of the famous trailblazers of the world today for boxing, and no other than we'll talk about Joe Louis. Yes, Joe Louis, the Brown Bomber. Yes, Joe Louis' record is just impeccable. I think he was all the way from 1937 all the way to 1949. Joe Louis was that guy. In almost all his fights, he was being counted on, looked down on, like he's not going to make it through. He's not going to beat this classical fighter. Once again, his impressive record, he had a 68 win, 3 losses, and he had 54 KOs, guys. 54 KOs. Joe Louis. How could we not talk about the legends or start it off right without talking about the famous Joe Louis? I just can't do it. He's definitely in my top 10. No matter what. To me, he broke racial barriers. He became a symbol of hope for African American at the time. During the time where racial segregation was deep. It was very deep, and he still chose to stand up. He still chose to beat all the odds and to open up boxing to what it is today. So let's give it up for Joe Louis. All right, and we're going to look at some highlights of Mr. Joe Louis. And comment down below if you are a Joe Louis fan, if you know the importance of who he is in day and time, and how he was just an amazing trailblazer for modern day boxing. Let's check out Joe Louis.
Before Jackie Robinson or Muhammad Ali, there was Joe Louis.
Boxing's Brown Bomber was a champion's champion. Known as the Brown Bomber for his punch and string of knockout victories.
Maybe he can go on. Yes, he's going to continue.
A great inspiration in so many ways to so many people.
The Brown Bomber.
Almost took his head off.
Greatest heavyweight of all time. It's going to be Joe Louis, the Brown Bomber.
Born in Alabama in 1914, Louis's parents were sharecroppers.
He was around at a time when this country didn't treat black people properly. Yeah.
There are about 9 million Negroes in our southern states, and the majority of them live on farms.
Long and blistering days working the fields hardened the young Louis. His father was committed to an asylum early in Joe's life, so his mother moved the family to Detroit. It was here, at age 15, he discovered boxing. He won the Golden Gloves and turned pro.
People don't realize how many times he fought as an amateur. He fought over 50 times, won a Gold Glove, and found that area of competence that all kids are looking for.
Louis fought and won 23 fights in his first year as a pro, knocking out all but 4.
Backing off, only courage keeping him up. Another good right hand by Louis, and another! And down goes Alator.
He was one of the most balanced fighters I ever saw, Ken. Always in position with his footwork.
There's that left hook.
Don't lose with the best.
Alator draped on the rope. He's being counted out.
He's just so pragmatic and he's so delivering. He just turns, he just does it like he's breathing. He's a master.
I think he was the best heavyweight that I ever saw in my life.
Joe Louis goes on to win another in his march to the World's Heavyweight Championship.
His management came up with the brilliant strategy to grow Lewis's name. He would fight in the hometown of almost all of his opponents, giving the home crowd a chance to see their fighters stop this mythical brown bomber.
And that right there alone, chat, tells you how much problems he had to go through. You know, going in other people's hometown and beating them. Well, he was getting booed and drinks thrown on him, all kinds of stuff. You know, for him to be 6'2", 200 lean pounds, and, you know, fighting in that orthodox stance, you know, that's probably where they got the gazelle punch, because you can see how he throws his punches. He does a nice looping in technique and catches you. The mighty Joe.
As a result, Lewis set record gates at most every fight he had.
I am the king. I am the greatest shape in my life, and I'm going out to beat Joe Louis.
Oh, yeah?
Turn back the clock to 1935. That clean, good-looking colored boy is Joe Louis. His opponent, Kingfish Levinsky. Levinsky, a seasoned gladiator, cocky in his shirt, waves to his pedal.
Lewis tore through the division. A true first of his kind.
You could see that even then the word was out. This guy Lewis is a killer. Stay away, stay away. Levinsky is scared to death.
He never gloated. He never boasted. He didn't stand over his defeated foes. All of this was part of the image he knew he needed if he ever hoped to get a title shot. The press treated black fighters as horribly as you'd imagine they would in the 30s.
Boxing writers in particular delighted in devising nicknames for the new black prospect.
You see, there had only ever been one black heavyweight champion, Jack Johnson.
Just seconds before the police stopped the motion picture cameras and entered the ring to halt this very one-sided fight, Jack Johnson becomes heavyweight champion of the world.
And shout out to the mighty Jack Johnson. He was definitely another staple. He was, man, he was just a solid brother, man, intimidating. Shout out to him.
But white America found Johnson offensive.
Johnson had been despised by white America.
He was loud and arrogant, and even dared to have affairs with white women.
Because of this, black boxers were frozen out of title shots for 29 years.
Discrimination was very...
Did y'all hear that, chat? 29 years they were stopping the Negro from being in championship bouts because they know that he was coming to whoop that. Ooh. Insane. And you know, when Joe Louis fought, he brought a lot of victory. You know, he had a lot of class. And not only that, he fought during the Great Depression. The Great Depression, y'all. We're talking about World War II.
They're prominent in those years.
There was almost a conspiracy not to let another black near the championship.
Jack Blackburn really didn't want to train him. Really didn't want to spend any time with him because he didn't think he'd ever get a shot for the title because he's black.
He famously told him, if you ever hope to be champion, you'll need to be twice as good as the competition.
And his great trainer, Jack Blackburn. They were a great partnership.
This is Primo Carnera. He was a 6'7", 270-pound former champion.
Down he goes with a straight left. Down on the count. He's being counted out, and that's all. Primo Carnera wins it.
Shaft died 5 days later.
Wow. I remember seeing this about almost 20 years ago. He killed that man. This is a giant right here. This is a giant.
Carnera was seen as the representative of the Mussolini government.
World War II was just around the corner.
Joe Louis, the sensational brown bomber from Detroit,
and ex-heavyweight champion Primo Carnera.
Never out of position. And he was a great puncher with either hand. And he didn't waste anything. There was no space in between his punches. They were short, concise, explosive.
Down a third time. Carnera tells the referee he can't go on. It's all over. Joe Louis, the winner by a TKO.
Lewis's victory over Muslim.
Yes. Let's go.
Let's go.
Did y'all see that, chat? All the hype, all this and that, it's about your technique and talent. They had to try to get the biggest dude to take him out. Joe has a incredible step-in punch, quick, like a gazelle, fast, accurate. Your hands down, you're going night-night. Like Steph Curry say. Night-night.
Mussolini's giant elevated him in the American public's eye.
He was the only black man that was portrayed in newspaper articles other than crimes.
Joe Louis was respected by everyone in the world. I mean, he was loved.
He was an idol of black America. Proof that if given a real chance, they could compete and they could win.
Whenever he fought, ooh, that boy was clean with that fedora, right? He was like, ooh. My dad used to wear those hats, man, back in the day. Those slick hats, man. Ooh. Some of them hats cost money.
The streets were empty. Now, the minute the fight was over, you'd see hundreds of guys, and we would imagine it better than we ever saw it.
Max Baer was known as one of the hardest right-hand punchers in the history of the game. He was a former champion and a seasoned veteran.
I'm not making any prediction what round will knock Max Baer out in, but I'm going to knock him out just as soon as possible.
In the midst of the Depression, Joe Louis versus Max Baer sold out Yankee Stadium and cleared the first $1 million gate in over a decade.
Oh, I thought he was the turning point in boxing. There was a moment in time when a fighter threw punches that you didn't see and the other man fell. And then we knew it had become the sweet science.
Joe Louis, a very, very economical mover, wastes very little, very hard puncher too.
A true practitioner of the sweet science.
He's gone down now from the right to the chin. Slow motion fall there from Maxi Baer.
And he was the greatest finisher maybe of all time in the heavyweight division. Not maybe, he was. He got you hurt, he got rid of you. He got you out of there. You didn't get a second chance.
Joe Louis dropped it 4 times in 4 rounds.
A fourth round winner by knockout in testimony of the Maxi Baer. Didn't he do well?
Pressure was mounting to grant Louis a title shot. But there were many who still could not accept a black fighter. He was passed over again and again.
And the 21-year-old Joe Louis, the overnight sensation of the heavyweight division, beats highly regarded Charles Westlaw.
Louis fought everyone who was out there.
You know, chat, racism sucks. I said it. Look at all of the division that it's caused and the evilness across the globe for thousands of years. Nobody has a choice of your color. So how did it creep in the minds of people to think that you could be judged by your color? Not from your intelligence, your skill set, your knowledge, your hard work. They were scared to put him up there because they knew he was going to win and shine and lift up the spirit of the black community. And it still goes on today in different things. This ish got to stop. You with me, chat? If you with me, you feel strong about this, comment down below, like and subscribe, share this, because this is deeper than boxing. This is deeper than boxing. Okay? So we need to look at the legends that open up these doors, who crack the foundation of that ugly racism. Just continue.
It's not Lewis's fault that he was so much better than they were.
Lewis was a devastating counterpuncher.
Powerful.
Lightning will put the back into the canvas. He brought the races like getting those feet.
He stalked the guy. He was calm, his demeanor, real calm all the time, to the body, to the head. Oh boy.
His dominance in the ring and unquestionable character outside of it made Joe the first black sports superstar in the world. Just one more hurdle lingered before they'd have to give Lewis his title shot. Max Schmeling.
Schmeling was a hell of a fighter. Joe Louis was the Brown Bomber. He was coming up. He was undefeated.
Schmeling had studied film of Lewis, a privilege not afforded to most fighters in this era.
The great famous saying from that fight, again, before the fight, where Schmeling, a German fighter, said, "I see something."
Max, from watching Joe Louis in pictures and in action, have you discovered any particular weakness in the Brown Bomber? Yes, I did. But I will tell you.
Was that when Lewis threw his jab, he brought it back low.
That happened all the time. He was always doing that. But no one else was able to take advantage of it because Lewis was so fast.
And what he saw was that Lewis would jab and he would leave. You should never leave your head on the right side.
He noticed a flaw in the Brown Bomber's style.
Schmeling had noticed that he was vulnerable to right hands.
Schmeling was precisely the type of skilled and crafty veteran who could exploit it.
Schmeling was a great fighter. And he was a real good puncher. Accurate puncher. And he took advantage of that.
And Lewis is Joe, and made Lewis give ground, and there Schmeling straightened up Lewis with hard right and left to the jaw. He has puffed up Lewis's left cheek.
Dynamite right, and Lewis goes down. Max Schmeling puts a temporary halt to the meteoric rise of the Brown Bomber Joe Louis.
The Lewis defeat made Max Schmeling next in line for a title shot.
Winner is Schmeling!
So you see that, chat? If you heard that information, at that time, it was not common for fighters to have tapes to study. Lewis didn't have a tape of him. So this was strategic strategy to take him out instead of fighting him as an unknown, not knowing what he's bringing, going in there just on raw talent. He had to make a tape, study it. Lewis did not have that advantage to study him. See the unbalance that you see here? This is what people got to do back in these days to win and to keep us down from not winning.
The Brown Bomber won his first 28 fights before being knocked out by Max Schmeling, a former world heavyweight champion from West Germany.
Now here's something funny. Joe Louis was continuously passed over for title shots because he was a black fighter. However, Max Schmeling was viewed as Hitler's poster boy.
One of the fears was that Schmeling would win the title from James J. Braddock, take the belt home to Nazi Germany, and nobody would see it again.
So America was stuck between a rock and a hard place. A title fight between Joe Louis and Jim Braddock was made, passing over Max Schmeling, though Louis had to sign away 10% of all his future purses to Braddock.
Braddock's manager basically made Louis agree to give him a percentage of his purses for the rest of his career to get the fight.
What?
Yeah, but there was an understanding that You know, you're not getting a fight otherwise.
For the first time in 29.
I want y'all to take that in, chat. So this is like the apex crustacean of the platform we see what boxing is today. The early, hey, I need this bit of your money, you know, I need this percentage, you know, hey, if you don't have me, you won't get this fight. Yeah, you're talented, but your talent won't get you to talk with the people that are matching me. This is where all the early seasoned corruption was on the soil, and it just took time to grow. That's why I'm not upset about people finding a way to get in their money. They're getting theirs.
9 years, a black fighter would get a shot at the heavyweight title.
And now, here in Chicago, the heavyweight boxing title is at stake. Will Joe Louis walk out of the ring as heavyweight champion of the world? We'll soon know.
There were history of black families, you know, poor black families that would get hope from just saying, hey, Louis did it. I don't want to hear that you can't do this. Joe Louis did it.
A challenger from Detroit, Joe Louis.
And so he was that important. That's the only point I'm making here. He was that freaking important that what they fought, what they did, what they overcame, where they came from. When you talk about all the things that we're here to talk about character, about talent, about perseverance, about resiliency, about caring about more than yourself, about strength. When you talk about all those things that we try to say that we care about, he was all that. He was all of that.
The Brown Bomber had captured the heavyweight title. He was champion at last.
A living legend, the heavyweight champion of the world, from Detroit, Michigan, the immortal Joe Louis.
The most powerful individual in the world, the strongest individual in the world. A black man was once again the heavyweight champion of the world.
In the black community, he was more than a hero. He was the shining example of overcoming the odds.
Joe Louis wears the crown of all the heavyweights, despite the arguments as to whether he is the real champion or not.
Yeah, he wins the title. And of course...
Chat, you can't make this shit up. Even when he has the title, you see what they write and they say, is he the champion? Is he the heavyweight champion of the world? Yeah. But they can't accept it. They can't accept it. It's a shame.
It's the biggest sport in the country. So all the press is there and they're, Joe, you're the champion of the world. Not yet. Not till I beat that man. He didn't even have to say his name.
That man was Max Schmeling. Joe refused to call himself a champion until he avenged his only defeat.
Joe Louis defends his World Heavyweight Championship against former title holder Max Schmeling, the only man who has ever defeated the champion.
Louis secluded himself into training. He knew, as did everyone else, that this fight was the most important of his life. Viewed as a battle of nations, politics, ideas. Boxing is war individualized. Pitting man against man.
The heavyweight championship, its meaning was transcending pure supremacy in the ring. Its meaning was really that of a world beater.
German troops marched into Austria for what the Germans called the reunification of the two countries.
Everybody recognized what Schmeling represented.
The stage is set for their historic rematch.
The match had become more than sport. War was coming.
On the verge of World War II, with Hitler, a madman, trying to create a master race, take over the world. I mean, the whole world's watching. You talk about pressure. That's why Louis is the greatest.
Yankee Stadium. New York City.
If he didn't win this world title fight against Max Schmeling, he was ruined.
And it's in
Oh, chat. The part that gets me the most is like, no matter what you do in this world, no matter how many great things you've done, you're always going to have the haters on this side, you know, doubting, saying this, saying all kinds of weird stuff. You know, like I said, this fight is deeper than boxing. And the fighters today is very different. It's very different, their mindset of why they're fighting, why you're putting yourself in that ring. If you don't have a driving force behind you other than money, other than representing your country. That's why when fighters come in from other countries, they don't play. They have the mindset that they're carrying their whole country on their back like a jacket. And they're the passion, you can't beat the passion. We need that back. We need the passion back. Money's gonna be there. If when you fight with passion, you have a meaning behind the force of why you're there, it becomes serious. You won't be playing at the clubs, dishing off money, acting a fool. Your focus, you'll be locked in. And you'll carry yourself at a high standard to be a champ so that people can respect you as a champion. Right, chat? Let's have a conversation. Let me know if you feel the same as I feel about that.
Stadium outdoors. I mean, you talk about a setting, a stage.
The eyes of the world would watch the clash. The gate was the biggest ever for a boxing match.
The whole freaking world's watching. The President of the United States and calls up Lewis and says, you got to witness for the good guys. I mean, you talk about pressure.
A black fighter carried the hopes of the free world.
Famous Detroit Brown Bomber, world's heavyweight champion, Joe Louis.
The largest audience in the history for a single radio broadcast tuned in.
U.S. against Germany, black guy against a white guy. You couldn't draw more divisive lines at those times.
It was a watershed moment that transcended sport.
That he's got to save basically the United States and the world from scourge and disease of the Nazi party.
For one night, Joe Louis had united the free world under a single cause.
Pushing right explodes on Schmelling's jaw. Joe steps back.
And Schmeling was in fear right from the beginning. He realized that this is something else, a different cut of cat.
How does he respond to it? He destroys him. He annihilates him. He knocks him out in one round.
That to me is one of the best stories of a heavyweight fight.
Schmeling fell victim to the Brown Bombers blitzkrieg.
Oh.
I think that's the greatest single event in the history of the world.
It doesn't look like Schmelling's gonna make it. It's all over. Joe Louis electrifies the boxing world with its magnificent first round devastating knockout over the
Louis's victory electrified the country.
Imagine being there, champ. I'm bringing the past to the present for you right now. Imagine being there, being black, you know, looking at a hope of the world of, hey, I can be somebody. This guy is the champion of the world. Through World War II, Great Oppression, all kinds of segregation, he's at the top. That feeling must have been enormous.
And Joe Louis and Benny Leonard, they were fighters. They let people know they had value, that their race had value, their people had value. They had value. They pulled people out of those places.
It was the most uniting force I've ever seen in my life.
he began his historic run of 25 straight title defenses, 22 by way of knockout.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special news bulletin. The White House has just announced that the Japanese are attacking military and naval establishments on the island of Oahu.
In 1942, with America firmly involved in World War II, he enlisted in the Army.
I've only done what any red-blood American would do.
During the war years, Joe Louis fought some 96 fights all over the world. It was said that some 5 million servicemen had a chance to see the champion box.
Lewis's ring career was never interrupted, not even for World War II, when he staged exhibitions under the claim, "I'm not fighting for nothing, I'm fighting for my country."
He frequently donated his entire purse to the Army or Navy Emergency Relief Fund.
Did you hear that, chat? Now you see why he's my number one of the top 10. He donated his entire prize money to the country that wouldn't lift him up, that wouldn't give him the chance to be a champion. He had to fight and struggle, blood and sweat. That's a man of integrity. These are the champions that are very hard to find today. Think about that.
An act of kindness that would haunt him.
Here we are in Madison Square Garden for the Joe Louis, Abe Simon Heavyweight Championship bout.
Private Joe Louis Barrow reports for duty. Duty in this case means that he is defending his $1 million World's Heavyweight Championship and donating his entire purse to the Army Emergency Relief. Joe's mad now, and he shows it. Fighting mad. He's throwing dynamite.
Joe always had a heart of gold. During that time, it was not on just one occasion that when a loved one died, Joe would pick up the funeral expenses for a fellow serviceman.
Here it comes now.
Wow. Joe Louis is an incredible fighter and individual.
A great soldier, a great champion, and a great man.
There's Joe Louis, once again, his hand raised in triumph.
Never before and probably never again has a champion donated his entire purse, in this instance around $70,000, in the bright and brave cause of patriotism.
The IRS would come at Louis years later, saying he owed millions on these donations. Louis would suffer financial ruin from this for the remainder of his life.
To this World Heavyweight Championship for the benefit of the Navy Relief Fund.
All these fights for the troops, sacrificing so much to be an example for the country, and he was ultimately left penniless as...
You can't make this up, chat. This is the history. So he couldn't get a pass. The money he gave right back to the government. Then the IRS comes right on in. Nobody representing him. He done all this stuff, paid expenses for falling military heroes. And they still put a boot on his neck. This is what we're dealing with.
The result.
And it's gone over. Billy Conn on the floor in round 13.
Well, I'm not waiting for nothing. I'm waiting for my country, and I think that's about the greatest piece of work that anybody can do.
The heavyweight king, Joe Louis.
Joe Louis was an authentic hero as opposed to a surplus hero.
In all, Louis spent 17 years in the ring, 12 reigning as heavyweight champion.
Now it's Joe Louis, the brown bomber at his dynamite best.
The war was over.
That the forces of Germany have surrendered.
Louis had now been champion 10 years. Father Time is undefeated, and many were speculating when it would come for Louis.
Between the champion, Joe Louis, and his challenger, Jersey Joe Walcott.
The super fight brought out all the celebrities.
And from Hollywood, Jack Benny and Bob Hope, Eddie Cantor, Joan Blundell and producer Mike Todd and FBI chief J. Edgar Hoover. Boom, perfect timing for the heavyweight championship of the world. Champion Joe Louis in the black trunks. Challenger Jersey Joe Walcott in the white trunks.
Win, lose, or draw, Louis had stated his intent to retire following this fight.
Walcott is out in front. He's knocked Joe Louis down. And the crowd, the big crowd here at Yankee Stadium now is really on the edge of their seat.
Walcott was ahead on points.
Watch Joe Louis, the devastating Joe Louis of old. Raining punches. Now, in slow motion, here is the champion in all his fighting fury.
Louis delivered the perfect combination and put Jersey Joe down for the count.
And the fight is over. In Joe Louis' 25th title defense, he looks like the great champion of old.
He had now defended his title 25 times, an unmatched record that stands to this day.
Is the retirement of Joe Louis, for 11 years heavyweight champion of the world. He has defended the championship 25 times since winning it from Jimmy Braddock in 1937.
It started when he...
Ooh, you know, man, this is why he's my number one. Oh. You know, it must frustrate a man when you got to go through so much turmoil and struggle just to be equal to people. Imagine that, chat. You got to do all of this ish just to be considered in, not even equal, just okay, yeah, he could be in the same circle. And I see a lot of the stuff he's done just to feel like he wants to be a part. They're doing today, the golf. Look at, he's playing golf. Every athlete that I know in opposite sport as a I don't know, I guess it's something else they want to do on their spare time. They play golf. He was doing this back in the 1930s and 40s. Just saying.
He donated 2 purses, one to the Navy and the Army Relief Fund, and they wrote the checks to Joe Louis. And he immediately signed the checks to the Navy and the Army Relief Fund. But because they were made payable to Joe Louis, they wanted him to pay taxes on it. Could the IRS have made an exception? Yes. Could they have interpreted it differently? Yes.
After 2 years in retirement, Louis was faced with massive financial problems.
You were away for 2 years.
I was away for 2 years, yeah.
And
the income tax has also
right.
something to do with me coming back too.
Yeah, we know that.
So it was a good payday.
The Brown Bomber was desperate, and so he returned.
Winner by unanimous decision and heavyweight champion of the world, Ezzard Charles.
He fought and lost by decision to Ezzard Charles, but his financial problems still lingered, and so he accepted the biggest payday he could find against an up-and-coming Rocky Marciano.
Rocky Marciano versus, at 210 pounds, the Brown Bomber, Joe Louis.
Louis had 3 inches on Marciano in height and 9 inches in reach.
He had no subtlety. He had a Susie Q. The greatest right hand in the history of boxing.
Marciano's right is his most damaging weapon.
And Joe Louis said, he doesn't really fight by the book, but I got hit by a library tonight.
Marciano's the slugger type of fighter. His arms are unusually short for a heavyweight, but he's strong and he's powerful.
You compare him to a street fighter with a huge heart, and he never lost.
His career finally came to an end when he met Rocky Marciano in 1951. Marciano knocked him up in the 8th round.
Marciano's hard left hook sends Louis sprawling to the canvas.
It was immediately clear that Marciano's power was too much for Louis.
Now watch, a left, another left crumples Louis, a blazing right.
Marciano was known like unbelievable strength in his punches, like he could just.
Now, although, chat, I like Rocky Marciano, right? Don't know much about his history as an individual, but as far as his boxing style. But they said he had the greatest right hand in all of boxing. Fighting against a man who is at the end of his career. Rocky Marciano had 49 fights. 49. And out of that 49, 43 were knockouts. No losses. And how many did Joe have? How many fights? Chat, y'all remember what I said? Y'all remember? Write down in the chat if you think you remember. 68 fights. 68. Only 3 losses. 54 knockouts. Ooh, this gets me so mad.
Rocky Marciano had something that you can't teach people.
Which is just brutal strength.
Brutal power. He just had the ability to land these bone-crushing shots.
The fight would be a passing of the torch moment from one legendary champion to the next.
I just do that. When Joe, the great Joe Louis, defeated, ending up his career that way, I think at that moment it might have influenced me in retiring maybe a year before I would.
A tragic and sad ending to the career of perhaps the greatest of all time. He would spend the rest of his life doing everything possible to repay the debt, including participating in a wrestling match for $100,000.
Washington, the Bomber takes on Cowboy Rocky Lee, 320 pounds.
He was the trendsetter of what they do today. Chat, how many boxers you see get in the ring for wrestling? A lot, right? After him, Muhammad Ali did it. All the greats have done it when they get their decline or they need that money.
After 10 minutes of tugging, hauling, and poking, a right forearm smash sends Lee out of the ring. And the winner is Joe Louis.
Despite this final payday, Louis was still deeply in debt. He couldn't catch up to the IRS, who were charging him $50,000 a year in interest alone. He ultimately found a home at Caesar's Palace in Vegas.
How long have you been working here at Caesar's as a greeter?
7 years.
Where he lived and worked until he died at age 66.
Today, America lost one of the finest boxers of all times. Joe Louis died of heart failure today in Las Vegas. He was 66 years old.
For an emotional service in memory of the former heavyweight boxing champion Joe Louis, who died of a heart attack last Sunday.
He was laid to rest in Arlington National Cemetery with full military honors.
Former heavyweight champions Jersey Joe Walcott, Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali all came to Arlington Cemetery yesterday to pay their last respects to Joe Louis, who may have been the greatest heavyweight of them all. He was buried to the words of the New Testament, "I have fought the good fight."
Called by many the greatest ever, he broke down numerous glass ceilings and inspired the next generation of Black Americans, paving the way for the likes of Robinson and Ali.
I think that people would say that because there was a Joe Louis, there's a Jackie Robinson in baseball.
And Joe Louis, the sensational young heavyweight from Detroit. They call him the Brown Bomber.
For a record 25 world heavyweight title defenses, Joe Louis becomes a legend in his own time.
Joe Louis, the Brown Bomber.
Adored by fight fans throughout the world, respected and feared by all heavyweight challengers.
Joe Louis will be remembered for not only his record, his fights, but as a man.
Revered in boxing greatest heavyweight champion of all time.
There we go, chat. Thank you for I know this ran a little bit long. I had to, it being for a staple in the boxing community, a pioneer, a trailblazer. All of it is honored to that man of breaking all the odds, fighting through. Knowing at the end, or even from when he was retiring, could not have that military paid off his debts for what he did for them. Didn't happen, did it? So hats off to this champion. He is a legend. Rest in peace. Thank you for your contribution to our community, the fight combat world, boxing, to Joe Louis, one of the greats. Thank you for being with your boy here at the Fighters Corner on this special edition of the Legends. And we will be showcasing our second legend. It'll be coming up soon. Until then, chat, this is the place where all fighters have a voice. Always look forward and punch through. And to you, Mr. Racism, man, God.